Syracuse football true freshmen on defense that are poised to have a significant role for the team against Tennessee and in 2025. Let's start off with the one I think we're all pretty familiar with by now. Demetres Samuel Jr., a 6'1", 195-pound consensus 4-star corner or wide receiver from Florida. And the reason why I say or wide receiver is because Samuel, of course, is a two-way player, but Fran Brown has already stated he is a cornerback first, which is why we're really talking about him on defense for the most part. Demetres Samuel is the highest rated recruit in Syracuse's 2025 class, I think regardless of the major recruiting service you want to use. Again, consensus 4-star recruit. Fran Brown has already named Samuel a starting outside corner for the team in week 1 against Tennessee. Currently, Samuel is the only true freshman so far that has been named a starter for Syracuse football against Tennessee and for 2025. To me, I think Demetres Samuel is someone who could have a very similar year to a Syracuse player that's actually currently on the roster. Deuce Chestnut as a true freshman in 2021. Now, Deuce in 2021, he was a high-end 3-star or low-end 4-star, depending on the major recruiting service you prefer to use. He was a highly rated prospect, of course, as I just mentioned, and he started for Syracuse pretty much right away at corner, and he had a big first season. Started all 12 games. He was third-team All-ACC, a freshman All-American, and we don't need to necessarily go through the entire journey of Deuce Chestnut. We've already done that on many podcasts before, and you can check them out on Locked On Syracuse. But the point being is that Deuce Chestnut, as a true freshman at corner, was really good for Syracuse in his first season. Now back to Samuel, the reason why I'm saying, hey, look, I'm buying into the hype. I think he could have a really big season for Syracuse is because it's not just coming from Fran Brown. It's not just coming from any of the other coaches. It's not just coming from me, but it's also coming nationally. On3 recently named him a true freshman All-American for this season. True freshman All-American. That's pretty impressive. You go check out On3's team over there. They got some highly touted players on that team, and Demetres Samuel is the one that represents Syracuse. So we're all expecting him to have a big year according to them. And on ESPN, top 10 freshman for the 2025 season. He's getting thrown right in the fire in week 1 against Tennessee, but in my opinion, he is someone who I think could potentially handle it. Not just handle it, but actually thrive as a 17-year-old corner in year 1. Second youngest player in all of college football, which we discussed yesterday. And again, if Fran Brown didn't think that Demetres Samuel was ready for the role that he is about to play for Syracuse this season, he would not be starting. He wouldn't. Fran Brown doesn't necessarily care. You're a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star guy. He's going to play, again, the best players that give his team the best chance at winning. Simple as that. And as far as the praise that he has received from the coaches, from wide receivers coach Miles White, he recently said, referring to Demetres Samuel, of course, quote, "That kid is so talented that there's really not a lot to work on." His words, not mine. There is a lot of hype with Demetres Samuel. And it's not just coming from someone who's running this podcast right now. I think we should all invest in that hype with a guy like Demetres Samuel. So think of all the true freshmen. We'll talk about this later on in the show. He might be the most important of them all. The other true freshman defender for Syracuse, who I think will have a significant role this year and perhaps against Tennessee in week 1, is Antoine Delorier, 6'1", 235-pound linebacker, a 3-star out of Montreal, Canada. Delorier will most likely not be named a starting linebacker for week 1 against Tennessee. I think that's pretty set in stone who it's going to be. Gary Bryant, a South Dakota transfer, and of course you got Derek McDonald, a returning linebacker for Syracuse this upcoming season. However, I do anticipate that when the depth chart is released, Delorier will be on that second team. And if you're on the second team as a linebacker, not only are you at some point probably going to get a start at any point during the year, he's probably going to play right away in week 1. He's going to be on the field at some point. You're not just going to have Gary Bryant and Derek McDonald on the field for all 100% of the snaps. At some point, those guys are going to need a break. A backup linebacker is going to have to come and see the field at some point. And if Antoine Delorier is a backup linebacker, second team, we're going to see him in week 1 against Tennessee, of course, assuming he's healthy. And kind of like Demetres Samuel with corner, Syracuse does have a history of true freshmen at linebacker being productive right away. Michael Jones and Marlowe Wax are the most recent examples. We recently did a hot takes podcast for the defense. We also did one for the offense as well. But one of you mentioned that, hey, I think Antoine Delorier will have 40 tackles. I don't really think that's much of a hot take, considering Marlowe Wax and Michael Jones both came pretty close in their true freshman seasons to having 40 tackles. And with Delorier, I think he might be the third linebacker on the roster. He's right there when it comes to playing time this season. At the very minimum with him, he's going to get a lot of experience in year 1, and we have to hope that by year 2 for 2026, he is a guarantee lock to start for Syracuse on the defense this season. As far as other defense thoughts with the true freshman, similar to the offense. Outside of the top 2, I don't really anticipate many others really getting on the field as far as on the actual defense itself. But one name I would keep an eye on if I were you is defensive back Caleb Singleton, another very talented defensive back, highly rated prospect, high-end 3-star, low-end 4-star, depending on the major recruiting service you use. I would not be surprised if he saw the field as a true freshman this season.